You're right. That is a complete miss.
Big fundamental. The Spurs' next game is in Houston on Friday night at 9:30. That'll be a test because the Rockets are playing so well, and that game's on ESPN. So we'll look forward to that and see what Kawhi can do in game number 2. We continue.
Off the top.
LeBron James did LeBron James things. The Cavs passed the Hawks with paced the Cavs with 25 points and 17 assists. 17 assists, tying a career high, by the way.
Yeah. 67 total points created, 25 scored, 42 off the assists. The Cavs made a season-high 20 three-pointers. They've made 10 three-pointers in a franchise record, 17 straight games. Here's the kicker for them twice now. It's the second game they've had over 30 assists. They had 35 last night. And the one other time they had over 30 was against the Hawks themselves. They have another player coming back. We talk about Kawhi Leonard. This one, not as good as Kawhi Leonard, but a good piece for the Cavaliers that they need to play big in the middle. Tristan Thompson played 6 minutes his first game back since November 1st when they had that calf injury. So getting him back and getting him into the rotation.
Yeah, we know health is a big part of this, especially where the Cavs ultimately want to go, and it matters less so now. I mean, Trey and I were joking about the start of the NBA season coming up on Christmas for most of the football watching crowd.
Looking forward to it.
But for LeBron James, this group, it's another year of them all to be together. It's that continuity. Waiting for it to translate defensively for them is going to be most important. But we saw how damning injury was the year they were able to get over on Golden State, the way the trickle down of some of the injuries to a guy like Steph Curry can affect that outfit. So anything's possible. And for them being at full strength and playing together is going to continue to be a huge part of this.
Well, look, after that horrible start and the Celtics' hot start, they're just 2.5 games back. They're 9-1 in their last 10. And, oh, by the way, we still haven't seen their full squad with Isaiah Thomas out there. So it'll be interesting to see two things. A, how that works out, and B, how long it takes them to sort of figure that out. Because that was sort of the problem with the Cavs at the beginning of the season. Kyrie was gone. That's 30 points a game. How are we going to make this work? It took them a while to sort of figure out how all the pieces went together. And that might take a little while when Isaiah Thomas comes back as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, it has to, without a doubt. So, but for them, it only matters when the playoffs starts. Yeah. That's it.
And we'll see how that continues to go forward. Again, just 2.5 games now behind the Celts for the number 1 spot in the Eastern Conference. And
off the top.
Unicorn sighting in New York. Kristaps Porzingis dominated the Lakers, scoring 37 points, had 11 boards, blocked 5 shots, and made 5 threes in the Knicks' overtime win. And according to the Elias Sports Bureau, he's the first player in NBA history to record at least 35 points, 10 boards, 5 blocks, and 5 made threes in a game.
It's ridiculous what he's doing. He can also, and we'll see how the season plays out. I didn't even realize this. He could be the first NBA player in history to average 2 3-pointers and 2 blocks a game. Nobody's ever done that. Kevin Durant is also on pace to do that as well, so you could have 2 in this year. But what a game last night. Very competitive game. At one point in the third quarter, you could either say great basketball because nobody was missing, or it looked like an NBA All-Star game because nobody was playing defense. But it was incredible what Porzingis was doing. Lonzo Ball went on a nice stretch as well. He ended up with a better shooting night. It was Caldwell Pope who led the Lakers with 24, but Porzingis is just really incredible with what he has been doing and what he's been doing for that team, sans Carmelo Anthony, just like the Pacers, sans Paul George in what's going on. It was actually Michael Beasley had 12 of his 13 points in the fourth quarter and overtime, which helped them the most there. But a very good game, of which, of course, Spike Lee was courtside there. Magic Johnson as well. They had some words as well. At one point, Magic stood up at a break and just said, hey, this is good basketball all the way around. Let's applaud the actual game that's going on here.
Yeah, and of course you missed LeVar Ball courtside.
He was there as well.
That'll be a separate discussion we'll have later.
If you couldn't avoid that. But shout out to Kristaps and Lonzo, too, for both being the millennials on the court and trolling everyone. First off, Kristaps Porzingis, the shoot your shot god on Instagram, going out and making it happen for everyone that's ever wanted to even think about approaching any of the Instagram models. He is truly your Latvian overlord. And then you've got Lonzo Ball trolling Nas on the way into the stadium. Did you see him on the way into the arena with the sweatshirt that had his face on it, trolling a Nas album cover after he got in a dispute not too long ago about what real hip-hop is, disparaged Nas a little bit. So there are a lot of levels to what's going on leading into the game last night. I know you guys were only concerned about what happened on the court. Just recognize there's a bigger picture.
And this is why we have our millennial on the show.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Do you guys understand any of that?
I did understand it. I did not recognize that, but it does make me think I need to widen my game a little bit.
Maybe, you know what? Yeah. There's time for that, too. Yeah, you're a 36-year-old man. You've got plenty of time to really get up on
I'm a 36-year-old, 55-year-old, so I do have time to do it.
Let me just process that for a second.
Give it a shot.
All right, I'm gonna
Try it.
You may just want to hit a button.
No. Well, maybe.
Hump day.
All right, at this point, here's an interesting question. As we'll finish up off the top in a second here. Who would you rather have right now, Porzingis or Ben Simmons?
Or Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
Wow,
Speechless. I left them speechless.
You went Ben Simmons. I thought you were going to say Lonzo, since that's who we were talking about. You went Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons didn't score his first points until the fourth quarter
Get into
last
that
night, but a 6'10" point guard.
I'm telling you,
I think I'd probably go Ben Simmons.
I think I'd go Porzingis on this one. A 7-footer with the rangy game that he has.
They're both ridiculous. There's no doubt about that.
In this
right?
current NBA, we know how much the quote-unquote center position has changed. But to have a guy like that, a guy like Karl Anthony Towns in Minnesota, guys that can stretch the floor in that way and run with you, that just seems like something so invaluable and something so difficult to find. I get that Ben Simmons don't grow on trees either.
That's a really good question.
Sounds like a social play to me.
2 days in a row, you've come up
Sounds
with
like
a
a
couple of good
social
questions.
play to me. Put it up on Golic and Wingo.
Wow.
Who would you rather have?
By the way, people always
Simmons?
ask why I'm looking over off camera when the show's going on. That's because the young people behind the glass are the only ones that get any of the references I'm talking about right now. I understand looking at you guys for a Nas hoodie reference is probably going to be misguided.
I'm not going to lie to you. Not my wheelhouse.
It's okay.
Not my
Self-aware.
strength.
But as I said, I'll try and expand my horizons a bit.
Proud of you. The other 36-year-olds, they're going to see you at the meeting and they're going to say, that guy gets
That's
it.
a cool dude right
I'm
there.
probably not going to try, just so you know. To be honest with you. And we'll finish up
Off the top
with football news and maybe good news for Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers medically cleared to return to the Packers this week after missing the last 7 games with that broken collarbone, which was his right collarbone, a.k.a. his throwing shoulder.
So, you got 3 games to go. You got the Panthers, you got the Vikings, and you got the Detroit Lions. 2 of those teams will be in the playoffs right now. The Lions just on the outside looking in, because that's been the question. Do you bring him back if you don't really have a shot for the playoffs? Well, you do have a shot for the playoffs, but they're extremely difficult games. This first one being in Carolina. With that defense, especially with that interior rush.
What they just did to Case Keenum.
That's exactly right. So, and I know Minnesota had some line issues for one of the few times this year where they had to replace some people. But that's a tough ask for a guy that landed on his shoulder and was out for that long of a time to potential to get hit again. But, listen, you go year by year. If you can have him back and you have the chance to make the playoffs, I would say you put him on the field.
That's the problem, too, organization-wise, is organizationally at the top you have to balance, all right, this guy's our franchise quarterback. We need to make sure that we max out him overall. But in the here and now, Aaron Rodgers and every other guy on that team and Mike McCarthy are saying, this guy always gives us a chance. That guy on the field is a difference maker, but having to go through Carolina and then the Minnesota team to put him down to begin with this season is a daunting slate.
Yeah, that again was off the top. Golic and Wingo presented by Goodyear, tires as hardworking as college football's most blimp-worthy athletes. Goodyear, official sponsor of the college football playoff. We'll get into college football maybe a little bit later, but it is interesting. I mean, the 3 games we're talking about, at Carolina, home for the Vikings, at Detroit. So by the Carolina Panthers beating the Vikings last Sunday, it stopped the Vikings from clinching the division. So now literally everything is still in play. Okay, if you're the Green Bay Packers, you have to say to yourself, hey, not only do we still have a chance to get into the playoffs, right now I think they're the 9 seed in the NFC, which would be 3 short of the postseason.
Right.
But that doesn't matter because you've got a team in Carolina that's ahead of you that you can beat, and then you got 2 division opponents, including the guys that lead the division. So realistically, if you have a chance, you have to put them out there, right?
I would think so. Now again, they're 2 losses worse than the Panthers, 9-4 to 7-6, and they play the Panthers. They can beat them, but that wouldn't put them ahead of them. They would still are going to have to do some scoreboard watching. But yeah, like I said, when you go year by year, man, you don't know how many times you get the chance. You weigh the side of obviously it's your franchise quarterback to do you get him on the field and do you make this run? Because we know if we have him on the field, you saw what he's able to do coming back from an injury and just how well he's able to play. I don't know. Especially, I guess that's the thing. If you're medically cleared to play, I guess you ask the doctor. This is another thing that when we talk to head coaches about this and we say, how do you treat something like this? He said the first and foremost is he medically cleared to play. If he's not, then there's no discussion. So if he is, then the next question is if he plays this week or he plays next year, is there any greater chance he could have the injury? Is there anything that will make that injury happen easier because he's coming back now as opposed to waiting until the start of next season? Being, you know what I'm saying, the healing time of all that. Will that, or when he goes back out in the field next September, if he lands on it again, it's going to break, it's going to break. So if there's no difference, put him back on the field.
That's the one thing I would be interested to know, because the lasting image I have in my mind is Tony Romo on Thanksgiving, coming back early from that same injury and going down. And we always hear the best predictor for future injury is past injury. And we know this, I mean, dealing with it in Jake, because Aaron Rodgers got a plate and screws in there, right?
He got hardware. I believe he got hardware in there.
Got hardware put in there. And I remember my brother Jake broke his arm when we were at Notre Dame, and because he wanted to come back and try and play that season, put a plate in that forearm. Now, obviously, a little bit different spot on the body. The bone structure is different, so I can't compare those two. I'm not a medical doctor or a PT or anything like that, but I remember what the hits on that did to the surrounding bone area when you've got hardware in there.
Coming back early,
it makes a difference when you're doing something that's trying to get you back for short-term gain and what could potentially happen. I know the collarbone's sort of a weird animal, but these are all questions that they're going to have to ask themselves leading up to this.
Look, here's the deal. Okay, you're right. They're 2 games behind Carolina in the wild card scenario right now. But remember, they play Carolina this Sunday.
Right.
And Carolina's still got to go to Atlanta.
Yes, it does.
So it's very possible they could have the same record and then have the tiebreaker over Carolina.
I think it's a long shot. They can make it, but it's a long shot. Trey, do you put him in?
Absolutely. Look, at this point, he was drafted in, 2005? It's now 2017. I'm taking every shot I've got with Aaron Rodgers because I don't know how much longer I'm going to have peak Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
We can all say they're all going to look like Tom Brady at the age of 40.
Right.
That's just not the case. Let's be clear. Tom Brady is the outlier. And he's changing the dynamic and what we expect, and that may be true, but if you're hoping for that, you're hoping against everybody else in the history of the league except for Tom Brady. So I'm taking every shot I got with this guy because I think when he's right, he's as good as anybody in the league, and that's including Brady, who a lot of people think is the greatest of all time.
Right.
So if I have a chance with that guy, I'm rolling every chance I've got with him. But how seriously do other people think about their playoff chances? Here's Ryan Clark and Jeff Saturday about the idea of the Packers making it into the postseason.
How much do you take seriously that Green Bay team now?
I don't yet.
No?